Modern Warships Depths of Despair event introduces the USS Defiant BBG-1 to the game. But did you know that while the game classifies this ship as a cruiser, in reality the US Navy calls this ship a battleship? In late 2025, the Trump administration introduced plans to build a new type of ship, the Trump-class battleship. According to concepts presented to the public, this massive new ship will be armed with vertical launch system VLS cells for both conventional missiles and the intermediate range conventional prompt strike IRCPS hypersonic missile system. The main gun will be a 32 megajoule electromagnetic railgun. In addition, the ship will have two Mark 45 secondary guns. Normally, these guns are the primary guns of the Arleigh Burke class destroyers and Ticonderoga class cruisers. The ship will also be equipped with a laser air defense system. Just like the railgun, this is a technology that doesn't exist yet or is still at the development stage. The first ship of this class will be called USS Defiant BBG-1. When launched, this will be the first US battleship built in almost a century. The last US battleships, the Iowa class, were built during the Second World War, although they were reactivated in the 1980s, modernized with new missile launchers and served for an extra 10 years. In mid-2026, it was announced that the Trump class will have nuclear propulsion and will be designated BBG-N. This means the ship will be the first nuclear-powered surface combatant in decades. Today's US Navy destroyers and cruisers are conventionally powered, as nuclear propulsion is currently reserved for aircraft carriers and submarines. Given the nuclear propulsion, the final hull designation for the ship will likely be BBG-N1, where BB stands for battleship, G for guided missile, N for nuclear, and a sequential number, which will be 1 since this is the first ship of this type. However, some experts, like those at the Center for Strategic and International Studies (CSIS), question the battleship classification for the new ship. This is because battleships are traditionally built around large naval guns and heavy armor, not missiles. Instead of thick armor, modern warships rely on close-in weapon systems, active and passive countermeasures, and stealth to protect themselves against enemy attacks. Pretty much the only thing that makes USS Defiant similar to a battleship is its massive size. It is comparable to an Iowa-class battleship. In fact, the only ship in service that will dwarf it is an aircraft carrier. It is likely that instead of technical accuracy, the battleship classification was chosen for political and branding reasons. Everybody knows that Trump has a massive ego. So, it's not difficult to imagine that because the ship is named after him, he wanted it to be classified as the biggest and most powerful type of ship, the battleship. Instead of a battleship, a more accurate classification for USS Defiant would be a cruiser. Typically, missile-carrying warships that are larger and more capable than destroyers are given a cruiser classification. In fact, there already exists a modern warship that has a very similar size and role as the Trump class. This is the Soviet-Russian Project 1144 Orlan heavy nuclear-powered guided missile cruiser, often called the Kiro-class battle cruiser in Western sources. It is also a nuclear-powered ship with a size nearly that of a traditional battleship. However, the Kiro class relies on heavy P-700 Granite anti-ship missiles rather than large-caliber guns. The ship also features the S-300 missile system for air defense. In addition to the class, the name of the USS Defiant is also unusual for several reasons. A ship class is usually named after the lead ship. For example, the Arleigh Burke class destroyer is named after the USS Arleigh Burke DDG-51, which was the first ship of that class. Because the first Trump-class battleship is named USS Defiant, using this logic, the entire class should be known as the Defiant class, not the Trump class. Also, battleships are traditionally named after US states. For example, USS Iowa, BB-61, and USS Missouri, BB-63. Naming a ship after an abstract concept or an adjective, like Defiant, is something more common in Britain. For example, the Royal Navy has the destroyers HMS Daring and HMS Defender. In addition to this, it breaks tradition to name a ship after a sitting US president. While US aircraft carriers are named after US presidents, for example, USS Ronald Reagan, CVN-76, and USS George H.W. Bush, CVN-77. This is done after the president has left office or passed away. In addition to bearing his name, the Trump-class battleship will also have an image of the president. The concept art of the ship features an image of President Trump striking a defiant pose on the back of the superstructure. This image is based on a famous photograph taken immediately after an attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania, during a 2024 campaign event. A fun coincidence is that there is another modern warship that carries an image of a political figure on it. The Choe-Hyun class destroyer of the Korean People's Army Navy. This new destroyer was recently launched in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. According to the Korean Central News Agency KCNA, the back of the ship's superstructure features an image of North Korean revolutionary figure Choe-Hyun, who later served as a politician in Pyongyang. During the destroyer launch ceremony, the DPRK leader Kim Jong-un himself laid flowers before the portrait of Choe-Hyun. In the Modern Warships version of USS Defiant, the image of Donald Trump on the ship has been replaced with a red hat with a political slogan on it. While the game classifies the ship as a cruiser instead of a battleship, this is likely not because it's technically correct, but because of gameplay balance and matchmaking reasons. The weapon loadout of the ship provides some customization options. While the main gun is a locked railgun similar to the real concept, you can change the two secondary guns to your liking. The ship also features a unique breakwater guided grenade launcher and Ocean Guard anti-submarine defense system. These are not part of the real ship's planned weapons. The ship also has two exclusive missile-based air defense systems, RIM 200T and RIM 156B. During the Depths of Despair event, USS Defiant can be bought in the Resolute Guardian bundle using real money. The ship will appear on the altcoin market 2 months after the end of the event. But what about real life? When we will see the first Trump-class battleship launch? According to the current plans, we will have to wait until the 2030s for the construction of the lead ship USS Defiant to be completed. However, it's also possible that in 2028 the next administration will deem the Trump-class battleship an expensive vanity project and cancel it. Regardless of what will happen in real life, Modern Warships gives you a chance to pilot a virtual version of USS Defiant today. For more Modern Warships facts, follow MW Stats.